Ladies and gentlemen, sorry I'm late. I know meetings can't start without the chairman. I apologize being late. Also, Mr. Keegan was more than happy to wait.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we have a couple items before I open it up. I'm going to open up and then go right into the public hearing after I call the public hearing to order. But we have two items which are not going to be heard today, and that's number 6, 259 Barberry Road. That's going to be continued to November, as well as item number 10 on our docket, which is 154 Ferncliff Road. That's also continued to November 3 of this year. So I'm going to call to order Zoning Board of Appeals, October 6, 2022. Executive session, we have two items on our agenda. First is approval of the minutes of Thursday, September 1. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Terry. Is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? Any abstentions? None. Motion carries. Second is approval of secretary's fees. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Jane. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, bring it to a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. Any abstentions? None. Motion carries. We'll be reconvening our working executive session after the public hearing. At that time, we'll be taking up each matter that goes forward today and be voting on them. So now I'm going to call to order public hearing, Zoning Board of Appeals, October 6, 2022. When a matter is called, I'll be calling this. It's from our agenda. There might be some over there, or you can get it online. The docket, I'll be calling that. When a matter is called, the applicant or her agent should walk up to the podium during that time. While I'm making the call, get yourself prepared to speak about your application. And then during your application, and only during your application meaning you talking, if you wanted to consider anything, present it to the board for consideration. Please don't start handing us stuff while I'm making the call, because I have another important thing that I'm going to be mentioning about why it's important not to interrupt each other or the chairman or any of the board members. So after the applicant's presentation, anyone who's interested will be invited to come forward and speak. The order that I do that is the people that are interested or in favor of that first, I invite you first. Anyone who's in favor, aside from the applicant, they're obviously in favor of it. I invite anyone else who's in favor to come forward and speak. Then I turn it over to anyone who opposes that particular application. I give you an opportunity to speak. If there is any opposition, then the applicant or the agent for the applicant, you can have an opportunity to address the comments in opposition. It's a rebuttal time period for you. It's not a time to restate your entire application. It's a time to address the comments that were made that opposed your particular application, okay? During that process, right after the application, there might be some questions from the board members. So you'll have an opportunity to put your entire matter before us. Now, here's the important part of non-interrupting. It's being taped, and that's required by our state law, so we can create a record. So down the road, if someone has a problem with something that was done today, they can then go to court if they want to, and we need a record of it. So it needs to be clear. Only one person can talk at a time. Anyone who does speak must come up to the microphone, give your name and your address. I'm going to allow you to talk on the application. In favor, opposition, I'm going to allow you to speak. I'm not going to cut you off, but you need to be to the point, okay? Zoning Board of Appeals has a particular role, and that's for variances of our zoning regulations. So speaking about that particular variance, what is before us is the key, all right? If you're too far off the point, I reserve my right as chairman to restrict your comments at any time. As I said earlier, we're going to take the public hearing, then reconvene the working session, executive session. We might take a short break, depends on how long the whole public hearing goes. But at that time, we'll be voting on each matter that goes forward. There's 5 voting members. You need a supermajority, meaning you need at least 4 to vote in favor of your application. If it's a simple 3-2 majority, your application's been denied. You need at least 4 to vote in favor for your application to be granted. So you could stay, and I recommend anyone who's interested in staying, because we might discuss. There might be no discussion, But if there is discussion, I think it's important for you to understand what the discussion was, because it may shed some light on why we did what we actually are about to do or what we just did in the vote. So you can learn a lot, and I think it's a benefit for anyone who's interested to stay and listen to that. If you can't stay, there's no penalties. You can call the zoning office tomorrow and find out. You can call someone that may stay for you if you want and find out, but you can call and find out at a later time. If your application for a waiver of our regulations is granted, it's not going to be valid, and therefore no use to you, unless you record it on the land records. In order to do that, you need to send or bring a check to the zoning office in the amount of $60 made payable to the town of Fairfield, and bring it or send it to the zoning office Wednesday or later, and that will allow for proper recording. Any waiver for these regulations, which involve construction, whether it's a new dwelling, an addition, or an alteration, will require an as-built prior to an issuance of a certificate of zoning compliance and a certificate of occupancy. So I'm going to go right into general docket. First item is number 1, 26 Sherman Court, map 180, parcel 48. Petition of Robert J. and Maria DeCesar for a variance of the zoning regulations, section 12.3.16, to allow for a total square footage of a residential use to exceed 50% of the total floor area to 54%. Permission to create a residential use to the second floor premises CDD zone. Attorney Fallon, this is you.
It is, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, members of the board. For the record, my name is John Fallon. I'm here representing the DeCesars. Maria is sitting right here with me. They are the owners of the property at 26 Sherman Court. They purchased that property in 1985, and for the last 37 years, Maria has operated her beauty salon, Images Hair Design, on the first floor of the premises. During that period of time, generally the second floor has been utilized for business office tenants during that period. The property is located in the Center Design Business District. As you are aware, we are seeking a variance of section 12.3.16 in order to allow utilization of the existing second floor for residential use, as shown on the plans that we've submitted. As you're aware, 2.3.16 permits residential uses within the Center Design District, provided they cannot be located on the first floor and cannot exceed 50% of the total floor area of the building. The existing second floor, which has been there for many, many decades, happens to total out at 54%. And so the variance is just address that one issue so that the property, the second floor, could be used as a residential apartment rather than business office use. In that regard, the changed environment that we're all, I think, familiar with, resulting from the pandemic and increased emphasis on remote home working, has brought about a factor where there's really little demand for utilization of this second floor of the property for business offices. There is, however, a substantial interest in residential occupancy that the DeCesars have become aware of, consistent with, I think, both the intent of the Center Design Business Regulations and in consideration of the character of the immediate neighborhood, where, as you know, such mixed use is quite prevalent. It's submitted respectfully also that the utilization of the second floor as a residential apartment will have less impact with regard to considerations involving traffic and parking than would continued utilization, even if it were possible, of the second floor for business offices. All other provisions of the zoning regulations are being complied with, and again, we only seek the 4% increase in floor area, not to actually increase any floor area, but to address the current size of the second floor. So legally, in looking at these facts under 8-6, I'd offer the following. You have to find that what we are proposing is not going to substantially affect the comprehensive zoning plan, and that there are elements here of hardship sufficient to grant the variance. In my material, I cite the Egan case, which stands for the proposition that if the use to be made of property after a variance is granted is a permitted use in the zone, then the first part of the test is established. Here, residential use is, as I said, permitted in the zone, and as is upper floor residential use under section 12.3.16. And As I previously mentioned, we think that the residential use will certainly be very compatible with the character of the general neighborhood and perhaps less impacting with regard to matters pertaining to traffic and parking. With regard to hardship, you all know that the hardship which justifies the zoning board of appeals to grant a variance must be one that originates out of the zoning ordinance and arises directly with regard to the application of that ordinance to the property in question. In this case, I'd submit that the strict enforcement of the zoning regulations with regard to the 50% percentage to this already existing second story or second floor, which constitutes 54%, established as a basis for granting of the variance we request. We're proposing no increase or no change at all in the existing structure, and the variance, as I said, is necessitated only by the existing size of the second floor. So, in conclusion, and subject to any questions you might have, they have maintained this property, the Caesars, for 37 years, during which time Maria has continually operated her salon at this location. They do wish to repurpose the second floor for a residential rather than office use, shown on the floor plan we submitted. We believe the change will be consistent with the character of the neighborhood and less impacting than even ongoing business office use. The use that we propose is permitted in the zone, and other than the request for the variance of 4% based upon the existing size of the second floor, all other provisions of the regulations, including those pertaining to residential use in the zone under section 12.3.16, will be complied with. So we'd be pleased to answer any questions you might have, but we hope you might favorably consider this application.
Board have any questions? Yes, Jane?
I don't have the answer to this, and I don't know if you do too, but
Sure.
when the use changes,
Mm-hmm.
does that trigger a re-evaluation of parking requirements?
Well, the parking requirements here would be less, in other words, based upon the current, so there's no request here for a parking variance. We have sufficient parking to accommodate the first floor use as well as the second floor residential use.
Okay, because right now, you know, there's a half a parking space, is that counted?
Well, we're getting, yes, I mean, in other words, the benefit that we have here is
Yeah.
we require for one residential unit, 2 parking spaces,
Yeah.
and for the square footage associated with the previous office use on the second floor,
Yeah.
I believe we required 3.
Okay,
So
it's-
that's why it's
okay,
less.
I'm just, okay, thank you.
Yes.
All right. I still had Waze on, telling me what time I'd arrive.
I'm glad you're here.
All right, any other questions, Mr. Fallon? Hearing no questions, is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Obviously, you, ma'am. Oh, you don't have to speak, though. You have an attorney. Anyone else?
Yes. Hello?
Yes.
Yeah, my name is Ron Friedson. I have a bunch of rental properties in Fairfield, and I support this gentleman's application. It's a realistic use of the property.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Friedson. Anyone else in favor of the application? All right, is there anyone in opposition? All right, hearing no one in opposition, thank you, Attorney Fallon. I close the hearing on 26 Sherman Court.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is number 2, which is 284 South Street, map 232, parcel 208, petition of Rhonda Eilish for variance of the zoning regulation, section 5.2.4.3, to reduce the sideline setback for an accessory structure from 10 feet, currently 3.6 feet, proposing 4.6 feet, permission to construct a detached garage with studio above premises, a zone, and I think, Ms. Gill, are you? Okay, you're presenting. Okay, go ahead.
Hi, my name is Patricia Gill. I'm architect for the project. And what we're proposing to do is to rebuild an existing detached garage, basically in place, but extending further out towards the back. And the current garage is non-conforming for a side yard setback by a little bit, and it's non-conforming for a front yard setback by about 5 feet. So when we rebuild it, we're going to narrow the building so it complies with the side yard setback. We're raising the roof a little bit, but it's still gonna be in compliance. And our variance request is to allow the front wall of the garage to stay where it is. So it's for the 5 feet that's currently over.
All right, any questions for Ms. Gill?
I do have signatures of
Great.
joining neighbors.
You already have it.
Okay,
This, we'll put this for the complete,
Yep.
that's the official record, but we have that already. Okay? Just to make sure, board have any questions? All right, having no questions, is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition to the application? 284 South Street.
There's a hand raised in front.
Oh, yes, ma'am, okay.
I live at 341 South Street.
One second. Anyone else in opposition? All right, Ms. Gill, could you just step to the side, ma'am? Just give us your name and address. I know you started to give the address.
Poppy Bonello, 341 South Street, Fairfield.
And what do you have to say, Mr. Miller?
It says here she wants a studio above the garage. Our street is very narrow. What's the studio gonna be used for?
May I answer?
You'll get to address, so her question is not directly to you, but the question that she's raising is, what is the studio gonna be used for? What other questions or comments do you have?
Our street is very narrow, and, that's what's my concern.
So your concern is the narrowness of the street, and what is the studio?
Have a structure, a studio, what's the studio gonna be used for? Apartment or some business? That was my concern.
Okay, and they're gonna have an opportunity to address that, because now you've raised that concern, so board members may be thinking the same thing. So, are those all your comments? All right, you can sit back down, make sure there's no one else. Is there anyone else in opposition? All right, now you can address, the two concerns is, you might want to answer, what's the plan? And, you can address the concern about a narrow street.
Of course. I.
And what's your name?
Rhonda Elise.
Okay, I thought so.
I have lived on that street for 48 years. I grew up at 100 South Street. My parents still live there. My intention is for it to be a home office for me. I work remotely from my business, and it's just me that's going to use it. My mother recently deceased, and so I need a place where I can move out of my bedroom and just have a little bit more space to be able to work. I'm an interior designer, and I work in my office. I have a business next to Connecticut Angel Champagne, and so it's just for me privately. There's no, I wouldn't rent it, and, it's not for commercial use. I am in business in Westport and in Manhattan.
And,
And the street is normal, it's not narrow, I mean, it's quite, and it would just be my car in my driveway, so there's no change in additional parking at any time. I have, if I piggyback my driveway, I have 3 to 4 spaces, depending on the cars. I have 2 cars, and that's in a garage.
and let me just ask a question, the upper area is it less than 200 square feet?
Pardon me, I'm sorry.
Is it approximately less than 200 square feet,
The,
the upstairs studio area?
I think it's small, it's not very big.
It's only 300 square feet.
That's the total amount, because you have, you have a stairs that go up as well.
Yeah,
So the area that's a studio is
Not big.
less than 200 square feet, right?
yeah.
Less by my calculation, but I'm
Yeah, if you take away the stairs.
just,
It's for a desk and chairs, so I
Yeah.
can work and on my computer and just spread out my plans for clients or whatever.
okay. All right. Any questions on the board on, the comments and rebuttals? Yes, Jane?
Just, there's no plumbing upstairs?
No, not
Okay.
No, you saw that as a first, yeah.
in case I need to go to Blaze, go right there.
Yes.
Go there.
Okay, thank you.
All right, no other questions on that, so we're gonna close the hearing on 284 South Street. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am, for your comments. Next item is number 3. It's 146 Chelsea Street, map 229, parcel 167, petition of Raymond J. Forehand II. And here's someone who doesn't listen to the original instructions of not handing out stuff during the call. Well, let me start it over. Number 3, 146 Chelsea Street, map 229, parcel 167, petition of Raymond J. Forehand II for a variance of zoning regulation, section 5.2.4, to reduce the street line setback to 17 feet, currently 23.6 feet, proposing 9.1 feet, in section 5.2.5 to increase the total lot coverage from 20%, currently 19.7%, proposing 23.1%. Permission to construct a one-story, one-car addition, premises A zone. And sorry, Attorney Rizzio for the comment, but, if I want everyone to, abide by those rules, I want the attorneys to abide as well.
My mistake, I apologize, Chairman. Raymond Rizzio for the record, representing Raymond Forehand with regard to property at 146 Chelsea Street. If so be it, I'd just like to hand out a petition and some pictures that we took to give this property better context. We've had a petition signed by all surrounding neighbors supporting this petition. This application is to add, I'm sorry, let me give you that. So this application basically is to add an additional one-car, one-story garage. If the commission has any concerns about our increase in coverage, we would agree to a condition that the additional one-story garage have no living space above it, so that we're not looking to gain any additional square footage. What's unique about this property, it's a corner lot. Our client did a beautiful job. He's very well-honored interior designer and architect in Fairfield, and bought this property, which was kind of derelict, and did a beautiful job doing a renovation. As you can see, this is, when I take you through the pictures, it'll be easy. This is a picture from the front. What's unique about Somerset and Chelsea is they're both extremely narrow. I think they're barely 20 feet wide. And what's also unique about it, as you'll see, as I'll point to you on the survey, is they have extremely large reserve public way, so that although we will be 9 feet from the property line, we're over 20 feet from the street. So this is where the garage is, and I'll take you through the garage will be directly next to it. It'll be one story. I'll take you through the elevations and show you basically an additional swing down. The garage will also sit behind an existing stone wall and existing shrubs. You go to the next lot, you'll see, what I point out now is, believe it or not, actually, if you go to the previous picture, we can barely see the driveway. The driveway is the property line. Everything else is owned by in the town right-of-way. So although we're having a side setback down to 9 feet, most occasioned by the fact that we're a corner and we have multiple setback issues, that we also have an additional at least 10 to 12 feet before you get to the street. So the property, it'll still feel that it sits like it's over 20 feet from the street. On top of that, it'll be behind a stone wall, and as you said, the shrubs will be extended along the stone wall. This is the area with which it'll be filled. It'll just basically move some pool equipment closer to the shrubs, and this is the side yard where it will be, which is not usable, not visible, and not intrusive on any property. As I said, the support of all the neighbors. One of the issues with Chelsea and Somerset has been, although street parking is permitted, should you put any cars on the street, no one can basically get, there's barely room for one car to get by. So this additional parking garage will allow him to be able to park 2 cars, plus have an area with which to park any additional visitor cars on the lot. So our hardship is it's the unique nature of the fact that it's on a corner and that there's these excessively large, as you can see, excessively large areas owned by the town, which we still control. He cleans the sidewalk, he maintains all this property, but unfortunately it doesn't count toward his coverage or toward his setbacks. And that's basically it. The neighbors are very excited about it. Everybody's concerned about keeping cars off the street there on Somerset and Chelsea. It's a very clean-looking building. If you take a look at what he's done, so that it won't be an eyesore either. As you can see, in red will be the outline of the new additional garage. We think it's obviously permitted use, it's consistent with the master plan, and because of the unique corner aspect of it, along with the additional extra size public right-of-way, we believe that hardship exists and request this commission grant the application.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for Attorney Rizzio? Hearing no questions, is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition to the application? Thank you, Attorney Rizzio.
Thank you.
Next item is number 4, 90 Rosedale Street, map 79, parcel 845, petition of Charles J. and Deborah L. Zevick?
That's correct.
Okay.
Wait
a second, I'm not done. For variance, I was looking to confirm that I said it correctly, of zoning regulations, section 5.2.5, to increase the lot coverage from 20%, currently 19.98%, proposing 20.9%. Permission to construct a one-story, 8-foot by 12-foot shed, premises A zone. Go ahead, sir.
Okay, my name's Charles Zebeck. I've lived at 90 Rosedale Street for 35 years. 6 months ago, I was diagnosed with a heart condition. So I can no longer shovel snow and I cannot lift anything. So in order to have the gentleman that's gonna plow my driveway, I need to keep both cars in the garage and I don't have enough room to get my truck in there. So I've had a petition signed by all the neighbors. They don't have an issue with it. And where this shed will go, which is only 8 feet by 12 feet, is directly behind my garage. And it won't even be visible by my neighbors that are right next to me. And my backyard is on Allenville School Woods. And I'd like to approve my petition, and that's all I have.
Okay. Does the board have any questions? Okay. Anyone wish to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition? Okay. Close the hearing on 90 Rosedale. Thank you, Mrs. Zebeck.
Thank you, guys.
Next item is, next matter, is number 5, 56 Shoreham Terrace, map 130, parcel 188, petition of Andrew Lalika, Maria Lalika Brown for a variance of the zoning regulation, section 5.1.1, to reduce the minimum lot size and lot square from 9,375 square feet and 75-foot square, currently 5,000 square feet and 50-foot square, proposing 4,780 square feet and 46 square, and section 2.7 to reduce lot frontage from 75 feet, currently 50 feet, proposing 44.52 feet, permission to grant a driveway easement, premises A zone. Mr. Friedman, are you presenting this?
Yes, I am. I'm the one who.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, this is just basically bookkeeping. The next door neighbor has a constructive easement on that piece of land. They've been using it for over 25 years. So basically, they simply asked for us to give them a formal easement because they're getting older and they want to be able to sell the property. And since legally they have complete right to it with a constructive easement, for us to give them a formal easement, we need the variance. The variance is not changing the size or shape of anything. The building was recently rebuilt after a fire. We actually had decreased this amount of nonconformity. So this is really just an administrative matter. There's no, it's not changing anything whatsoever except giving them a formal easement on a piece of property they legally have a constructive easement on.
All right. board have any questions, Mr. Friedman? And that's on the, Janine White side?
That's the north side, which is,
The Hamilton side?
the Hamilton side. Yeah, it's the Hamilton side. It's the Hamilton side.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the
All right,
north
all right,
side.
yeah, I see it. I see it now.
Yeah, it was, from what I understand, the, original owner of both homes actually owned the Hamilton house and built the house at 56 for, I guess, his daughter or daughter-in-law many years ago. And, it was a pre-zoning situation. And then the lots were subdivided at some point. But this is just, but he actually, when he subdivided it, he never bothered to actually worry about the driveway. They just kind of cut a line on a piece of paper in 1950, whatever it was, and that was it. So that's
All right.
that's really all there is. If there's any questions.
Let's see if there's, some additional questions besides, one I just asked. Any other questions? All right, is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Yes, ma'am. If you're loud enough, you don't have to come up.
Okay, I've been told I'm pretty loud.
Give us your name.
Linda Hamilton.
Okay.
I am the owner of 46 Shoreham Terrace, and I think Mr. Friedson really just explained the entire situation. We bought that house at 46 when they had just built the one at 56. I was 24 years old, knew nothing, and it looked very cut and dry. There was my driveway. Without this easement, as Mr. Friedson says, it belongs to our very nice new neighbors. And I would like to have this easement granted on the records so that in the future, when I'm not around anymore, and my children inherit it, or it needs to be sold by us or by them, that there's not going to be a problem. And they say, well, there's no driveway here. Where do we park? For us, it would be a terrible hardship, because when it snows, first thing the town tells us, get your cars off the street. Where would we park? So we are very much in support, and our neighbors who we've known, I've been there for 48 years. And all the neighbors that, we know, I'm sure, even though there's not any petition, I'm sure would speak to our plight as well.
Thank you, Ms. Hampton. Anyone else in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition to the application? All right, hearing no opposition, I'm going to close the hearing on 56 Shoreham Terrace. Thank you, Mr. Friedson. Thank you, Ms. Hamilton.
Thank you.
Our next item, number 6, that was continued. It's 259 Barbary Road. The next we have is number 7, and that's -2009 Black Rock Turnpike, map 76, parcel 336, petition of Turnpike Shopping Center LLC for a variance of zoning regulations, section 12.7.6.4, to reduce the rear setback from a residence district from 30 feet, currently 25.9 feet, proposing 26.3 feet. Permission to construct a new covered loading dock, premises DCD zone. Attorney Kaufman presenting.
Good afternoon. My name is Jackie Kaufman. I'm an attorney with Carmody, Torrance, Nedek, and Hennessy, representing the applicant. I'm here today with David Wadowitz, the architect, so he's here to answer any additional questions you may have about the structure that we're proposing. I have to say that it's always a pleasure when a client comes to you with an improvement to a building that's going to improve conditions on the property, and which also has a very clear hardship from the beginning. So I hope that it's easy for you to see as well. This property, 1901 to 2009 Black Rock Turnpike in Fairfield, Connecticut, I'm sure you're all very familiar with it. It's the location of the current ShopRite. It's owned by the Turnpike Shopping Center LLC, who is the owner and applicant, and we also represent the tenant, which is ShopRite. DBA is Wakeford. This shopping center was originally built in 1959, according to the assessor's records, and has come to the Planning and Zoning Commission subsequently several times between the late 60s, early 70s, and again in the 1980s to make improvements to the building as the needs, the business needs have changed, the parking needs here have changed, deliveries have changed. And so there is a history of them coming to you, although what is most interesting is that the zoning regulations have also become more restrictive over time since this was originally built in 1959. So this board has not seen some of those changes that I just referenced, and it was something that previously went to Planning and Zoning Commission only for site plan or special permit approval. What we are proposing today is a de minimis improvement to the rear loading area. It's located here. You can see it highlighted in blue. It's very small, so if you'd like to see this closer, I'm happy to bring it to you. But it represents a small loading dock addition that is adjacent to the ShopRite location. This will not require additional P&Z approval due to its size, and while it does represent a concrete block with a open canopy on 4 sides, it does not rise to the level of improvement that will require additional review by any other board. Here's the building. Here's the dock. Trucks come this way. Dave can speak to this more. We have this here, and I have a photo that I can show you as well. That'll give you a better idea of what this will look like in a moment. And what brings us here today is because we have, this is the loading dock. Sorry that I don't have a better picture of it, as it exists today on the back. So the truck has to jackknife all the way to the back adjacent to the building. There's no actual loading dock. The dock itself is inside the building. And what we are looking to build here instead is something like this, just to give you an idea as we're speaking. This is another dock that the architect proposed for a different shopping center. But this, oh, I'm so sorry, that's not a very good one there. Is that a little bit better? Mm-hmm. You see that? What's further interesting about this property and why we need a variance here is that while it's been in the DCD zone for as long as it's been there, the property behind it is in the designed residential district. And what's changed from the time that it was built to today is that there's a more restrictive setback. In the DCD zone, it's a 10-foot setback from the property line, in which case this improvement and any other improvements that have been made previously came under that umbrella because none exceed the 10-foot setback. However, in the shops, there's residential development that's adjacent to this property on this side that was built in the 1970s. Oh, I'm sorry, here. And then subsequently, I believe in the 1980s, I was discussing with Matt, there was a zoning change that increased the setback because it's a residential zone adjacent to a commercial zone to 30 feet. So the building as it exists today is 26 feet in lieu of 30 feet. We are proposing a small dock here that will be 25, so that comes out less than the building projects today. The building as it exists today projects further. But what this will do and why it's important is because the trucks to make a delivery come in off Black Rock Turnpike, come down this way, they queue up in the back, and they must queue up in a single file line, and like as I mentioned, can't just take a turn to the spot because it's very narrow back there. The truck has to then jackknife against the building. And what this will do is eliminate the need for as many truck turns. It's been studied, the geometry has been studied, and it's a much more efficient way to bring trucks and deliveries into the site. It's not being proposed so that they can increase truck deliveries, and it does not represent a reason for an increase in business, but truly this is an efficiency and safety improvement here. In speaking to, I communicated with the neighbor's property manager, who also feels that that will be an improvement. I can't say that he's speaking on behalf of the entire board, but was his conclusion when we spoke last week. And that's important to them because it eliminates the beeping and that they hear now, or it doesn't eliminate it, but it will significantly significantly reduce it, and it also will increase operation, or the experience there. And the trucks will not be parked as long as they are today.
All right. Thank you, Attorney Kaufman. Does the board have any questions? Yes, Jane?
When the trucks are queued up, are they idling or are they turned off?
No, they are turned off.
They're turned off?
Yes, in fact, if you go down and you took the same path that they take,
Yes.
there are multiple signs that have been put up by the shopping center and also by the tenant to ensure that that happens. They have an on-site manager there that oversees all deliveries and ensures that they're not idling.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, hearing no other questions, is there anyone who wants to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition to the application? 1901, 2009 Black Rock Turnpike.
Two in the back, yeah.
Okay.
Are we able to
One.
come in or two?
Yeah, they're making room. You come up to the podium, give us your name.
Yeah, go ahead. My name is Heidi Letterman. I'm a resident of the Melody Lane condo complex. I'm in unit 200, and I am directly behind where they're proposing this loading dock. I have witnessed firsthand how hard it is for them to back those trucks to back into this particular loading dock. So I understand the need for some sort of change. I guess some of my questions are, there are 3 loading docks, correctly?
Yes.
Okay, so there are 3 loading docks, and when this is put in, this adjustment, how does that impact the other 2 loading docks in terms of backing into those spaces? So that's the question. Does it impede at all?
We'll take, we're not gonna, it's not gonna be a Q&A. It's not gonna be a Q&A right now. Give us your comments, and then hopefully those are all addressed when Attorney Kaufman gets, to go back.
So, the trucks do queue and they pull into, the back of the shop, right, and it is a very tight space. However, they do, as my understanding, they do back out of the space, all of them, to get back out of the, complex. So, while I understand it'll be a little bit easier for this one loading dock for trucks to back in, I don't understand how it reduce noise in particular. In fact, there's a risk that it could increase noise, because there's a longer way to back out for the truck that's gonna be pulled into that space, I think. But again, I'm not an expert, so I don't know. I guess the other thing I, wanted to ask is, it's just a really, really tight, fit for those trucks. And when I saw a larger one back in last night, I really thought it was gonna hit the fence. So I just want to make sure that there's consideration done for those large trucks and just making sure that we're not gonna have an issue with that. Because we do have a lot of, issues with that fence, and ShopRite's been great at repairing it, so we appreciate that. But, it is something that occurs on a frequent basis.
All right, thank you, Ms. Weatherman. Ma'am, give us.
Hi, I'm another resident of Millard Lane condominium, have since been to I don't even know where to start. When we looked at or were given just within a week, less than a week, information about this, which I don't think was sufficient time, but it's another issue, I don't even think Melody Lane condominiums is even represented on the map. I see Belvoir condominiums, which is quite far away from the issue and doesn't have the noise or proximity to this very narrow lane of trucks constantly backing up and forth. So when I hear that it's a benefit, I say a benefit to who? It's certainly not a benefit for the 40 families that are living, looking at that fence in very close proximity. There are some trees there, perhaps not enough, but the noise has definitely increased over time. The number of trucks has increased over time, and that's one of my big questions. How is this data being measured? So you can make well-reasoned assumptions. Just to say, I think truck traffic will decrease, or only big trucks will be there now, that's not sufficient for the quality of life of these 40 families. We've had an increase in kids. We have up to a dozen kids running around there all the time. There is idling. I don't know where you're getting your facts. We have videos of this idling. When we talked to our property manager, we're told that they could exceed the 3-minute idling time because they're refrigerated. Some of them are going on 10, 15 minutes. I have a video here at night. It's happening early in the morning, sometimes before 7 o'clock, and it's happening late after our council meeting, 9, 10 o'clock at night. So, where's the air quality? Where are these kids breathing in more of this air? And let's consider how close this is to this little picket fence. We were there in the 70s, it was constructed. You didn't have this truck traffic, but why should these families bear the burden of the need to increase their, traffic efficiency? So questions, number one, idling is not a correct fact, so let's have that checked. Number two, the air quality, how do we check that? Because it is heavy, and we know all about asthma, and we know about children, and we have a lot of senior citizens. How is that addressed? And the noise level. So, I'll take my seat.
Excuse me. Oh, one more. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Donna Kirsten, I live at 210 Melody Lane, directly across from the loading dock. I can tell you that I call on a regular basis to ask the trucks to please stop idling, and I've had them go on as long as 45 minutes to an hour, and that's not, against the law. One of the questions that I have is about the watershed and the snow, and if you put a cover on, from a building out to the lot, what is the water, how do we get the water off of that and not flood our parking lot? I park directly against the fence, the picket fence that they were talking about. And also, is there any consideration to upgrade some of the fence or noise barrier that would help maybe with our condo? I think that's it. I think you guys got the rest of it there. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Kirsten. Attorney Kaufman, you could address, but let me just make a comment that unfortunately, ladies, the Zoning Board of Appeals is not charged with idling, pollution, traffic. Unfortunately, we're looking at a particular request for a variance that talks about a setback. So your concerns, and I think the neighbor, and I think Attorney Kaufman, I know Attorney Kaufman will express the concerns with the neighbor on that, but, those are really not issues that come before us. It's kind of the issues, maybe some of the idling might be addressed, and maybe Attorney Kaufman can shed some light on some of the questions that talk about that and reducing the traffic, and maybe David could comment on that as to at least address those concerns. But on the Zoning Board of Appeals, it's really not it's not this board's purview. We're sitting in an appellate form for the rules that have been put forth by planning and zoning as to how the town should be developed and what the restriction requirements are, as to whether certain properties we should give forgiveness of those particular rules. And so our review, as you can imagine, is somewhat limited, but I do allow, and I'm very lenient, and any of the attorneys will, unfortunately, because they're usually the applicants, will tell you maybe I'm too lenient. I do allow a lot of the comments of concerned citizens from the town to raise that to the people that want a variance, so that person knows that they're concerned people. And hopefully Attorney Kaufman will address some of those concerns to at least help you understand some of it, or at least, maybe she can explain how this might help some of those concerns. But go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate that clarification, and I appreciate that these homeowners have come out today. I did speak to someone at Mr. Diaz-Hector, and I did offer to come to your meeting that you had last week. So we did make a timely mailing as required by your regulations and by law, and then I did offer to go and be there to answer questions and to speak to the folks directly, but they did not ask me to come. So I had assumed that there was no further discussion, but I'm happy to take your information down and to speak to you all privately, and to even arrange for a meeting between you and the ShopRite manager, because the idling, I know, is something that is of great concern. but certainly that's not part of the operations themselves are not being proposed to increase, and we can only continue to mitigate some of those impacts. I say we, as representing the applicant, to mitigate some of those impacts that you experience from those operations. So I'd be happy to continue to put you in touch with them to improve on that situation.
Maybe something about how David could say why this was designed this way, to shed some
Absolutely.
light on how it's gonna make it a little bit more efficiency, because obviously, if something is more efficient,
It will
that
improve
means
some of these
it's
experiences.
faster, which means if it's faster, it's probably less idling.
That's
Okay, good evening. My name's David Wojtowicz, architect for J.P. France and Associates, 95 Harbor Road, Southport, Connecticut. We definitely have well over 25 years in dock designing. We've done it in Milford, West Haven, Old Saybrook, Orange, for larger facilities, storage warehouse facilities, manufacturing, for a list of corporate clients that are still operating in Connecticut, which is great. They're still calling on us to design docks for them. And we did do that one in Milford I just saw the picture of. It does improve the truck movement. I've observed the back of all my facilities before I design anything. I stand there for an hour if I have to, 2 hours, I go different times. I don't live there, so I don't see what the neighbors see constantly. But these extended docks improve the truck to move in and park. If you watch some of these 18-wheelers, they don't make a 3-point turn, they make several 5-point turns to get to that interior dock door, where this mitigates all that movement of that truck. It comes in, it backs to the dock, it locks, it shuts off.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
So just using my pen, if you're a truck going this way, one of the two docks that were referenced earlier by our neighbor, one is here, the one's here, and then this is the one that would be proposed. What happens now is if a truck comes up to here, it can take a direct backup right into that. That means it's one turn, as opposed to several if it had to be adjacent to this door, as it does in this situation. So this creates a movement improvement, and this will be the same, it will do that.
What I'm referring to now is when this rig comes in, it goes here, and it has to try and get to this door. And it can't do it in one movement. I've been there several times, and as the neighbors have said, that truck is jockeying at least 3 or 4 times before it can square to the interior dock. When we extend that dock, and the reason it went the distance it went because of the existing compactor, so we minimized that 14-foot rule for a rig, so there's nothing either side with Mayor's truck, so it can get in and not hit anything adjacent to. So that truck will come in, back, stop, turn off. We are showing a staircase, the driver gets direct access. Right now, that driver has to go around the compactor, in a door, get to the dock, you know. It's just speeding up the driver movement, and it's speeding up the time that truck's running. And once a truck docks, it turns off. It's not allowed to stay running at a dock door when the doors are open. So the sooner we dock a truck, the sooner it turns off. The other thing is, there is a concrete retaining wall at that location, and the fence is behind it. So that particular dock area is not damaging the fence. It's the queue possibly, or other vehicles that may be employees or visitors, you know what I mean? It's possibly trucks too. They have a lot of smaller trucks that maneuver into the other bays. So they have, you know, the Coca-Cola truck gets in pretty fast. And the smaller delivery trucks, the smaller box trucks really don't have the problem. It is the 18-wheelers, and that is why this extended dock is being proposed. They've heard the neighbors call. They're trying to address that concern of idling time, truck time. There's no increase. We're not adding a dock. We're actually extending the existing dock, so there's not any added docks to the facility. they're actually trying to address that noise and idling and also the time their drivers are sitting there trying to unload. These covered docks allow the truck to unload faster as well because the staff can move the material into the building as needed with the cue of what's going on inside the facility. So that truck can leave and the rest of the material can stay on that platform covered. It's not enclosed, so it has to get into the building that day. You know, they're on but the driver doesn't have to wait, because we have that extended storage area for product. This is the reason this is in front of you, to speed up these trucks in and out of that facility. And as you heard, the amount of times they're jackknifing to get into that bay door. So that is the heart of why this is proposed. And like I said, there is a solid concrete retaining wall at that fence line at this dock area.
I think.
And it's also been designed in a manner that will, meet the Fairfield Building Code and will tie into the existing drainage facilities and will meet the drainage manual. That is not something that is reviewed at this time for your review, but at the time of the building permit, certainly it has to go through, building and engineering department to ensure that there are no runoff causes, that would cause any issue to your parking area.
We did look at the drainage as well, and it's asphalt now. So a roof and asphalt is equal to the drainage that's presently there. And that is, there's a catch basin located right there adjacent to this roof that will be underground piped. So it actually will be controlling the surface water with the roof structure, because that we can pipe. Asphalt, we just gotta let the water run around and find that catch basin. So it's actually reducing, to some degree, how much surface water sits. And that rear is all pitched to that center catch basin, and there's a whole drainage study that was done on this property because as you know, it is a state highway. We have an extensive drainage study on this property that was done in the 2000s, when the Webster Bank addition was done. It was within the 15 years because I did design that whole facility back then, with the ShopRite improvements and the other improvements there that went to planning and zoning. DOT and the state required an extensive drainage study that is very thick and available if somebody wants to read it.
Jane, did you still have a question on?
Just the, dock that's gonna be in the middle, that's still gonna be in use with the smaller trucks, right?
Correct.
So it
Yes.
Yes.
doesn't-
We're trying to get
Yes.
these bigger rigs a convenient way that they could drive in, park, turn off.
And then when they leave, they're driving straight and not backing out onto
Well,
the.
they have to back out, because you can't turn around that.
Hello, can anyone hear?
Anybody hear us?
Can you hear it?
Yes,
Oh.
okay.
Okay.
All right, so I'll announce again, does anybody wish to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition to the application? Raise your hand, speak up.
It may not have.
I think Mrs. Serto, who is a resident of Pine Creek, was going to speak to the application. Now, she may have changed her mind, but she has been in attendance throughout the meeting. Laura, can you hear us?
I can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs.
John, hi, John. Good to see you.
Well, Laura, how are you?
Good, thank you. I missed your entire presentation because we couldn't hear a thing. So
Okay.
I'm not on this call in opposition. I have Jack Staus, the across the street neighbor of Joe's, with me. So we were just wanting to kind of hear what your positioning was. Jack does not have opposition to what Joe wants to do. We just really wanted to hear your presentation.
Okay, in essence, if the chair will allow, and basically what we are doing is we are looking to reconstruct the garage on the same footprint in order to make it FEMA compliant. It won't be any different in terms of the current setback, and it will not be any higher than the current structure. And in that regard, it's already a 1.5 story structure. We look to add a dormer so that Dr. Chiappi could have a small home office to address his needs for a home office. There would be a half bath there, but no full bath, no facilities for cooking or sleeping. And we've indicated in my presentation that we would be happy to agree to a condition of approval that it could never be used, converted, or in any way occupied as a residence. So that's the essence of the application that I presented, probably more long-windedly than I need.
Are you okay with that? Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I need full names. I know who you are. That's just Chairman Coyne. But I need full names and addresses for the record since you're speaking.
Laura Inserto, 89 Pine Creek Avenue, Fairfield, Connecticut, 06824. John Staus, STAUSS, 48 Pine Creek Avenue, Fairfield, Connecticut, 06824.
And so the record is clear. You're in favor, or is it you have no opposition, or you have no comment? One way or the other.
We are in favor.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak either in favor or in opposition to the application? I prefer to choose people in favor first. All right, is there anyone in opposition to the application? 3138 Pine Creek Ave. All right. Hearing no further comments, I think you addressed your concerns, or question. I'm going to close the hearing on 3138 Pine Creek. Thank you, Attorney Powell.
Thank you, members of the board.
Number 9, 316 Capona Drive, map 77, parcel 656. Petition of James K. Lucy Jr. for a variance of zoning regulation section 5.2.4.3 to reduce the street line and sideline setbacks for an accessory structure from 30 feet and 10 feet, proposing 10 feet and 4 feet, permission to construct an above-ground pool premises, A zone. Go ahead, sir.
This is why I think they're retiring. This brought me back to teaching remotely.
Here's the, remember to give it your name and address when you go back up to there. So, what's that?
Name is Jim Lucy, 316 Katona. And my wife and I are looking to put in an above ground pool in the back. And as you can see in picture number 1, we came in a few years ago for a shed, for a variance for the shed. That's on picture number 1. We're looking to put the pool back by picture number 2, in the back by the fence. We have permission from, or approval from our neighbors in the area. And picture number 3 is another picture of the sideline. I looked for other options to locate the pool. And we're looking to go off of picture 4 in the back there. We're on Katona and Judd, so we have the setbacks from Katona as well as the setbacks from Judd. The pool will be roughly 52 inches if we go with the one branded pool. And we're looking to put in picture 2 some privacy fence and by that swamp maple there, so you'll be able to see it from the road.
Thank you, Mr. Lucy. Hold up. Are there any questions for Mr. Lucy? Yes, go ahead, Jane.
Is that the fence that you said you're gonna put in, is that part of this application?
No.
Something you're-
What I need,
I just don't know if it's,
well, we would go with like landscaping or fencing. You couldn't really see the road from Katona.
Yeah.
The fencing, you have to worry if you wanted to try to be above 6 feet, then
Oh,
you're
yeah,
gonna have,
no,
you're gonna have issues.
okay, there's a small fence there now by the generator in picture 2. So that would probably be the height.
Yeah, your other fence is,
Yeah.
a little over 5 years.
The others, yeah, they were there when we,
That's fine. 6 feet.
gotcha.
Some people on the board don't like fences taller than 6 feet.
6 feet is the max. I like 6 feet.
Okay. Any other questions? Is there anyone who wants to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition? 316 Katona Drive. All right, hearing none, we're going to close the hearing on 316 Katona Drive. Thank you for this page. Number 10, that was continued. That's 154 Ferncliff Road. Number 11, 438 Lucille Street, map 438 North, map 73, parcel 5, petition of Christina Kondulescu for variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.4 to reduce the rear setback from 30 feet, currently 23.4 feet, proposing 17.5 feet, permission to construct a one-story addition to from an existing sunroom premises R3 zone.
Good afternoon, members of the board. I have the application and some supporting documents, including the signatures. I was able to get all the signatures except one.
And our neighbor is actually listening. The neighbor that couldn't sign is right here.
Okay.
That's our neighbor.
Thank you.
And we have the wet signatures here.
But that's the original.
Yeah.
And let's have your names.
Cristina Condulescu.
Okay.
And Yanko Nicolai, I'm Christina's husband. We're basically looking, asking permission to build a sunroom, enlarge the sunroom from 12 by 12, which is 11 by 11 inside measurements, to basically 18 by 22. We have several hardships with our lot. We're the last house on the street, where most houses are over, 3,000, close to 4,000 square foot. We have a very tiny house, is a ranch house, is 1,300 square feet. One of the first hardships is odd-shaped lot. It's kind of like a triangle with a little bit of a side lip to on the right. Second hardship, we have a drainage easement on our property that prevents us from building anything to the left of the house, therefore rendering the immediate area useless. Also, where we have the easement, as you can see in one of the pictures, the topography goes down. So it's pretty much useless. I mean, like, we can't use it, and I asked the town if we could build a garage. They said no. I asked if we could build a driveway. They said no. The third hardship is the topography, which is both on the left but also on the right. All the way to the right, you'll see in some of the pictures, you can see it slopes upwards, so it's bad. And then the other one that I already mentioned is we try to build a 2-car garage, so that right now when we park one car and then the other one behind it, and we can't, like, if I'm first and I have to leave, I have to ask my wife to back out, and then I do. Also in the winter, another hardship that we have that's not listed in the write-up is the town takes all the snow and basically dumps it onto our property. It's been like that for 10 years. We lived there for 10 years. We're asking for this sunroom, in this day and age, for our children to be as a playroom, maybe once or twice a year to be,
For their birthday parties, because both of them are born in the school season.
Yeah.
One is in December, one is in April.
and that's pretty much it. It's strictly sunroom usage, maybe a handful of times a year. We are in good relationship with the neighbors that didn't feel comfortable signing. I've tried explaining to him, hey, what are your concerns? Let me know and I'll address them. If it's privacy, we'll put some, 9-foot evergreens. If it's drainage, obviously I can take care of that too, in terms of, I talked to Matt, that is not here today, and he said, just tell them that the drainage obviously will have to be per town guidelines, but I can even go beyond what the guidelines are if there is a concern. So we're willing to go the extra mile to maintain, everybody happy.
All right, thank you. Let's see if there's some questions. Are you done? I didn't want to cut.
Yeah, just the lot speaks for itself, the hardship of the lot is just impossible to use it. And we basically have a very, very small house, yet we pay taxes as if it's close to $10,000. And we haven't been able to build over the last 10 years. We tried.
And the sunroom that we have right now is so tiny.
We've never used it, never,
We
not
never
even once.
used it, never used it.
Let's see if there's any questions. The board have any questions? Go to James.
Did we get floor plans?
Yeah, there were 5 floor plans that were given to.
Jane, the commission, I look in your email,
Some of the documents were missing, so Josephine scanned them in. You should have a recent email copy that was in it, all of you.
Yeah, I saw that you guys have a map, like the survey.
Yeah. So now you can see here, thank you.
So if you're looking at the survey now, you see on the left is the triangle, and then on the right, it's also like very limited. But also, if you look at the pictures, you see the topography is on an incline.
And we're just trying to keep the house the way it looks. So
Yeah,
there's a family that sold the house, the kids said that, you know, their father built the house and we absolutely love it. We love it the way it is, we don't really want, and the sunroom will just keep it kind of, we just want to make it larger, but in the same, just look nice with the brick finish.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Let's open this up. Is there anyone that wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition to the application?
Hi, good afternoon.
Go ahead, sir.
Hi, board. My name is Hutchinson Williams. I'm a resident at 101 Lakeview Drive. And speaking in opposition, but also on the record, this is not a opposition to my neighbors. I very much like my neighbors. My concern is the infringing on the variance. We want them to improve their home, and so we have no problem with a horizontal addition, but coming further past the variance is the concern that we have, both on the effect of the land as well as some of the runoff, and additionally some privacy concerns should we, you know, as time goes on with the property, and if there's a future resident there or we end up having to move, that's our concern. So that's my my objection to it, and happy to answer anything further, but that's all I've got.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Williams.
Yep.
Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in opposition to the application, 438 Lucille Street? All right, you have an opportunity to address the opposition. There are two things, mainly is infringement on some privacy, going over the setback.
Sure.
That's yours.
Sure, as part of the condition of the building, we have no issue planting some, 9-foot evergreens, staggered, because I believe I've also planted some that are a lot lower because his plant is a little bit lower. So ours would practically be a wall of privacy right away, like immediately. So we can, as part of the condition, we could plant evergreens across the fence. You can see it in the picture. You can see his fence in the picture too that you have. And then obviously for the runoff of the drainage, where right now the drainage is going 10 foot away from their property line. We're willing just to, make it even better for them than it is today, to pull back those drainage and move them towards the left and right. Which
well, as a drainage, you got to follow the town.
Yeah, but you can still, left and right to the, yes, you follow the town, but what I'm saying is you could still drain to the, because our land is like kind of like a triangle. So it goes more towards the left and more towards the right. We could make the downspouts go to the left and to the right.
Sir, that's very nice. Drainage is not completely within your control. There's someone else that has control over how much rain falls and when it falls and how water goes. So we rely on the town engineer. So I don't think that is even an enforceable condition as to without a plan in place, without something of a promise like that. I appreciate the condition of evergreens to be reasonable, and he has a property line. So would you be considering evergreens, the 9 feet in length from the edge of his property line, because I can see it on the fence, this vinyl stockade fence, to go the same distance either side of your the back of your
absolutely
sunroom? So it looks to be, I don't know, almost 10 feet on one side, so 10 feet on the other side. So,
absolutely, I can even do a little
so
more.
that would be 42 feet of evergreens along centered along the back of your sunroom. As a condition, if you're willing to do that, maybe we could consider, we could, kind of, at least some of the concerns of Mr. Hutchinson.
Yep, absolutely.
Mr. Williams, Hutchinson Williams, sorry, Mr. Williams.
Okay.
All right, anything else?
We don't plan to sell the house. We
Yeah,
love
we
the
don't plan to
house.
sell the house.
Just got a phone call today, somebody offering cash. I'm like, I'm not moving.
No, I mean,
I
and
absolutely
it's
love
mostly
this
for
house.
the other thing is that the purpose, it's a sun, strictly sunroom, never to be used by anything else. And to be honest, like, we never used it, but if we had it, we would have only used it like a handful of times a year, you know what I mean? Like play area when they're getting into like, cause having two boys, they start fight sometimes, you know, like they need a little bit of space, especially with a small, tiny house, 1,300 square foot, you know? Most of the
We
houses.
felt it mostly during COVID because we both work from home and then we, had the kids at home, so that's how we, came.
And we have no choice to build like left, no garage, no driveway, no, almost nothing. It's almost like an apartment, which is kind of sad.
Yeah. Even though we absolutely love the location, that's why we bought the house. We love the location. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We're gonna close the hearing now on 438 Lucille Street. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next item, number 12, 828 Sasko Hill Road, map 239, parcel 5, petition of Eugene and Janet Bach for variance of zoning regulations, section 5.2.4, to reduce the minimum required side setback from 30 feet, currently 5.8 feet, proposing 4.6 feet. Permission to construct a new one-story addition, 3-car garage, premises, AAA zone.
Fallon, go ahead. Mr. Chairman, good afternoon, members of the board. For the record, my name is John Fallon. I'm representing Eugene and Janice Fox, who are the owners of the property at 828 Sasko Hill Road. With me is our architect, Mr. Peter Perdue. And this property is located in the residence AAA zone. I do know from the material. It's a group of a single-family residence, which is situated in the extreme northeasterly portion of the property. The existing structure, as you can see from the survey, is a legally protected pre-existing non-conforming structure as it is situated 5.8 feet from the northern property line. The existing 2-car garage is extremely small and generally not functional for purposes of safely accommodating even 2 vehicles. We make this application for your consideration for a variance of section 5.2.4 in order to construct a new 3-car, 1-story garage as shown on the plans submitted herewith. The existing garage will be converted to use as a much-needed mudroom and storage area. As designed by Mr. Cadu, I think you hopefully will agree, the new attached garage is attractive in design, harmonizes with the character of the existing house. The variance requested of section 5.2.4 is minor in that it seeks approval to reduce the side yard setback by 1.2 feet from the current 5.8 feet to 4.6 feet. The garage addition will provide an attractive aesthetic enhancement to the existing very beautiful residence here. And other than the variance requested of section 5.2.4, the garage will be in compliance with all other requirements of the AAA zone. There's only one real affected neighbor here, obviously, based upon the size, location of the property, and that is our neighbors at 794 Sasko Hill Road. Mr. Cadu was able to meet with them. They were very gracious. They were pleased with the architectural design and allowed us to submit this petition on their behalf, indicating that they have no objection whatsoever with regard to the application. One other interesting sidelight, not particularly, I guess, totally germane to the variance, but if you're familiar with this house and this property, many of the homes on the downhill side of Sasko Hill Road have very significant topographical challenges. It can result in unsafe driveway access to Sasko Hill Road, and that's the case here. One of the side benefits that this application will have for the Foxes is that the new garage has provided us with an opportunity to construct a safer access point from the street to the house, so that's just something else that's good. The legal underpinning here is based upon the fact, as I said before, that the existing property and house is legally protected pre-existing non-conforming structure. It was constructed in 1926, and the setback is located, side yard setback, 5.8 feet from that northerly property line. So when you look at the statute 8-6, two things you want to look at, obviously, is what's being proposed going to have any effect on the comprehensive zoning plan? And are there factual elements that establish hardship as our case law has come to define it? Again, the Egan case says that if the use to be made after a variance is granted is a permitted use in the zone that satisfies the first part of the test, we're not going to change in any way the historic use of the property as a single-family residence, which is explicitly permitted in the zone. The new garage will meet the needs of the Foxes, but provide an additional and functional three-car garage in the context of what Mr. Cadu has designed. I think is a very nice and beautiful, harmonious addition to the character of the house. The hardship here is kind of textbook, and it arises from the house, the fact that the house is already pre-existing and non-conforming as to the side yard setback. Our connected courts, and I cite the material to you, have found that the historic location of a legally protected pre-existing non-conforming structure on a lot creates a proper basis for a finding of hardship. That's the fact here. The existing garage we seek to replace is 5.8 feet from the property line. We seek an additional 1.2 feet to make it a better functioning garage, but in fact, it's not a significant change. So in summary, we ask your approval of this variance application to construct this new garage as proposed and designed by Mr. Cadu. The new garage will provide sufficient space for the parking of 3 vehicles, while the existing garage space can be utilized for much needed, mudroom and storage space. We hope you'll agree that the application meets the standards for approval as set forth in section 8-6, in that it will not substantially affect the comprehensive plan, and is supported by facts with regard to the existing non-conforming location of the structure that exists that satisfy the hardship requirement in accordance with the case law that I've cited to you in my material. So, Peter, I'm pleased to answer any questions you might have. We hope you favorably consider this application.
Thank you, Attorney Towns. Board have any questions? Hearing no questions, is there anyone who wishes to speak in favor of the application? Is there anyone in opposition? Hearing no further comments, we're going to close the hearing on 828 South Hill Road. Thank you. That concludes the public hearing for today. We're going to take a 10-minute break. We'll return at 10:05 to reconvene our working session. We'll be voting on each of the applications that went forward today.
Busy.
Oh, sure. You want to hang around? Are you in the light? Huh?
I know you did. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I enjoyed it. My side was over 10 minutes. I want to try to thank you. People that are, when they connect in, I like to see them on video. Did you I know Laura.
Yeah.
Still. Daughter sits down.
Yeah.
But.
Turn on the video.
Yeah. No, I just want to make sure they're not. Thank you.
To make that rule.
You should think I can. Yeah. Exactly. You know what? And tell he's waiting to see if it's going to be.
I think everybody knows Laura.
I know. Well, I was on there for 4 months. Yeah, well, me too, right on. This is still on. Recording. Yeah. I've been over the insert. I didn't know that. Brother.
You're ready to go back?
I looked at the name, I was in Romania, so.
Call back to order, zoning board of appeals, town of Fairfield, October 6, 2022. Returning, reconvening our working session. First matter on the agenda is the docket number 1, 26 Sherman Court. Attorney Fallon presented this, the Caesar application to create residential use of the second floor of the, in the Central Design District zone. Entertain a motion to approve?
Brian moves.
Thank you. Is there a second? Second. Thank you, Jane. Okay, discussion.
I think it's a fair use of the space, and the 4%
It's a little different than normal.
Listen, I'm trying to open up the lexicon a little bit, you know? You guys get bored with me saying it's a reasonable request.
All right, we'll bring it to a vote. Faith?
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, number 2, 284 South Street. It's, Rhonda Eilish, her application, Patricia Gill presented it. Attached garage with studio, and we did hear, from, Ms. Panano, I think, I'm sorry. But Panamo? Okay, yeah, an opposition on that. Entertain a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thanks, Faith. Discussion?
She's actually reducing the nonconformity,
Yep.
so it's gone from 3.6 to 4.6.
And I think she's sufficiently answered the concerns. It's not gonna be
Need to
an
speak.
extended use or visited space.
Bring it to a vote. Faith?
Yes.
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 Yes. Number 3, 146 Chelsea Street. Attorney Rizzio presented the application. It's to construct a one-story, one-car garage addition. I would entertain a motion to approve this application with the condition that was offered by Attorney Rizzio of no living space above the new garage. With that condition, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved with condition.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Thank you, Gene. All right, discussion?
I think the right-of-way mitigates the setback for me. At least in its appearance, so where the property line sits,
You have a corner lot as well.
yeah.
Yeah, but the work that Ray does, he's my next door neighbor, is phenomenal. So it always goes out well.
It looks, I know we haven't decided, but it looks like it might have been there from the beginning.
Yeah. Yep, it looks clean.
All right, bring it to vote. Faith?
Yes.
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 Yes. Number 4, 90 Rosedale Street. Mr. Zebik presented his own application. He would like a shed in his backyard. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Jane. Discussion?
It's invisible. I think it's a fair use.
It's only 96 square feet.
And you got Holland Hill School behind it, so you don't have, other than a baseball or a soccer ball hitting the back of it, maybe. All right, bring it to a vote. Faith?
Yes.
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 Yes. Number 5, 56 Shoreham Terrace, and this is, the Likas, Mr. Friesen presented this, and, it is, to grant the, driveway easement to change around the configurations of that lot, so the easement for the neighbors, the Hamiltons, can be made legal and proper, and Ms. Hamilton spoke in favor of it. Entertain a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Discussion, my announcement was the discussion of it.
Yeah, I think it's done.
All right, Faith?
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay. Number 6 was continued to November. Number 7, 1901-2009 Black Rock Turnpike. Attorney Kaufman presented this. It's a Turnpike Shopping Center. It's for the new covered loading dock. We did hear from some of the neighbors to the rear, to the 2 condominium complexes or residential areas back there on this. So we'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you. Second. Terry, discussion?
Or they're trying to improve, lessen they're addressing the objections. In other words, I know, in other words, I understand what the neighbors are saying, but they're not making it worse, they're making it better.
There's a little bit of a disconnect because the presenter said they don't idle. There's somebody out there making sure they don't idle, and the neighbor's saying, yeah, they do idle, so it's not anything that's under our purview, so.
Right.
Yeah, they have
Yeah,
signs, they're trying to
Yeah.
take steps. I'm sure they're, you know, they don't want to be continuing to have the complaints.
Right.
But
And with the improved efficiency of the drive line, whether they idle or not, they should be there less time.
One of the things of efficiency is, making it a little faster, so.
Yes.
But
it's
the
faster,
shares are all gonna be
less-
electric anyway.
There's
so-
less idling.
There's a law anyway, you can't idle from one side, I think, so
Yeah.
legal matter, not a zoning matter.
Correct. Unfortunately, I had to say that to the comments. All right, bring it to a vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Number 8, 3138 Pine Creek Avenue, petition of, Dr. Choppy, Attorney Fallon presented the application, and it's to, FEMA compliant, a new garage with a dormer, and we did hear from, 2, residents as well. Entertain a motion to approve on the condition, that this application and the new detached garage will be constructed as planned, maintained as such, and not converted, occupied as a dwelling unit in the future.
So moved
With that condition.
with that condition.
Okay, is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Okay, discussion?
I think it's gonna be an improvement to the area. I think the line is gonna be improved, and take a person at their word that they're not gonna have to get ratted out by the neighborhood for a new apartment.
It's a tight neighborhood, and, I'm sure Dr. Choppy will know if they think it's being violated at all during his ownership.
Want to know.
All right, bring it to a vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Number 9, 316 Katona Drive, Mr. Lucy, presented his own application for above-ground pool. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Thank you, Jane. Discussion?
This is, we've seen things just like this many times before. There's a pool going on a corner lot.
Yep.
And it's, the regulations are gonna require a certain height fence anyway.
Yeah.
So it's all gonna be fine.
Yeah, it's gotta be fenced in
Yeah.
there. So, all right, bring it to a vote. Faith?
Yes.
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 Yes. Passes. Number 10, that was continued. Number 11, 438 Lucille Street, Christina Conluso, application. Her husband also, presented that, and we heard from Hutchinson, Williams, on this in opposition. This is to construct one-story addition, existing sunroom. I would entertain a motion to approve the application with the condition offered by, the applicants that, to the area, immediately across or adjacent to the, along the property line, in front of this addition, they would have, 42 feet of 9-foot evergreens properly spaced, centering on the back of the sunroom. With that condition, entertain a motion to approve.
So moved with the condition.
Thank you. All right, second?
Second.
Thank you, Terry. Discussion?
I would have approved it without the conditions.
It's
The concession offered.
It's a weird shaped lot, and there's all kinds of obstacles on it.
The biggest thing is that the drainage easement, and, didn't have an attorney, but an attorney, and he presented himself, that's a big hardship.
Yeah.
It's like next to his house. You can't do anything on one side, and, you know, it's the typical side, and then it's a narrow, strange lot on the other side.
Mhm.
So really hard pressed on anywhere to put
Mhm.
any type of an addition on this house.
And engineering or someone else smarter than me can ask this question, but I seem to remember a presentation that we had, are those trees gonna improve or lessen the drainage help there?
Drainage, they're gonna have to put underground drainage.
Yeah, they're gonna have to put
anyway,
something
so
under there.
It's not gonna matter.
It's not gonna affect that.
All right, bring it to a vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Number 12, 828 Saskia Hill Road, petition of the Foxes, Attorney Fallon, presented this. It's for a 3-car garage. Entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Thank you, Brian. Is there a second?
Jane seconds.
Thank you, Jane. And discussion.
It's gonna be nice, it's gonna improve a problem.
The next door neighbor's fine with it. It's like a foot difference from what there is now.
Hey, you can't see it from the road. And the point is, I don't even ride my bike on the road anymore.
Yeah,
Because very scary. I wouldn't walk on the road, I don't wanna ride my bike on the road, people go too fast on that road.
I don't
Which is,
like- I don't
again,
like
not the
driving
zoning
into
board's,
the people that
purview,
do.
but.
Right.
Bring
I
the
don't
vote,
like driving
just
into
to say,
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, passes.
look at you.
Close the hearing.
Look at you.
Thank you, everyone. See you in November.